Zombie apocalypse.
What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. This is 6 Scale Economist. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the battle damage Thanos from Endgame. As always, we're going to talk about this figure first from a collector's perspective, and then we're going to talk about it from an investment perspective. This one's interesting, okay? Don't get me wrong, I'm a Marvel fan, whatever. I really like this figure. Let me just preface saying that, I'm not going to bash this figure, but I am still on the fence on this figure, and that might be surprising to some people. And I'll go through why. But first, looking at it from a collection perspective, I mean, it's sick, right? It's the iconic Thanos, in his iconic look. Like, if I don't have a Thanos in my collection, if I want a Thanos, this is the Thanos that I want, but I think it has some issues. I love the battle damage look, and obviously you have like three options, right? You have the Infinity War Thanos, you have the non-battle damage Thanos, and then you have the battle damage Thanos. For me, I thought the Infinity War one was cool, but when I felt like there was going to be like an Endgame one, like I just ended up not picking up that one. Glad I didn't. And then when I saw the non-battle damage Thanos, I was lucky enough that I just like didn't pre-order it, and then once I saw the battle damage Thanos, I was like, okay, now this is definitely the one to get if you don't have one. I think you have to get the battle damage look. And like, obviously you get like the face sculpt when he's like defeated. You get like his sword, you get like the broken sword, you get like the Infinity Gauntlet. Like, you get like a lot with this figure. Like, you get all the things that I really want with this figure. But like, one of the big things that is deterring me on this figure is he doesn't come with a bent arm like the Infinity War one did. I think that stinks, because you can basically only have this figure in a museum pose. Like, you can't just like bend. Like, I would want to have him like doing like a snap, or like doing the snap like didn't work or something. But you just can't do it with this figure, because it's just gonna bend the rubber and eventually like rip it. And like, so you basically are forced to leave him in like a museum pose, like a pose like isn't really iconic from like the movie. Which is tough for me, and I thought that wasn't going to be as big of an issue for me, but I've just like struggled to hit the pre-order button on this figure on any of the websites because of that. Like, that's like one of the major things for me. But with that being said, like, I am picking up like Endgame Captain America for sure. I'm still on the fence about Endgame Battle Damage Iron Man. If I pick up one of these, I'm gonna pick up both of them, or I might pick up none of them. I'm not just totally sold on it yet, but I want a Thanos in my collection. But that bent arm thing is really deterring me. And the other thing that's also really deterring me, I'm not sure if this is much of a problem for some collectors as for others, but I keep all of my Hot Toys in DTOS, and that's mainly because, one, I think it looks better, and two, I don't want it to be exposed to the elements, partially because I just don't want that for my figures, and also because if I ever one day want to sell those figures, like, I don't want them to have any like issues with being like out in the open, and like if there's ever any issues, you have to disclose it to the person that you're selling it to, and like I think like that would be, it stink, because like that can really hurt like your investment. And he doesn't fit in a standard DTOF, and I know you can do like some gimmicky things, like you can like take the glass out, or like other things you can do to like make it work so that he will fit inside of a a standard IKEA DTOF, but like, if I want to just have him in my normal default, he's just too tall, and that's kind of another like big negative for me. But with that being said, like, this figure is awesome. He is the main villain. He is like, his whole character arc is the whole reason why I'm like a very big fan of like the MCU. The head sculpt is sick, like, so badass. You get like the fake gauntlet. You get like the one like with the gems, and the ones without the with the Infinity Stones, and the ones without Infinity Stones. Like, the display base is sick. His battle damage armor is sick. The weapon is sick. The head sculpt is sick. Everything about this figure is great, except that he doesn't come with a bent arm, which I don't know why Hot Toys didn't do it. They got it right with the first one. They did it with the Infinity War one, and that was huge. Like, it came with an arm that like is like not posable, and it's just like this, like so that you can get him in like his most important pose, which is something along the lines of this, like holding up the gauntlet, like getting ready to snap. And the fact that you can't do that, and like you might try and tell yourself like, oh, I would be like, I don't care that it's like gonna bend the material, like I'm just gonna do it, but like think about leaving that arm bent for like 6 months straight. It's eventually just going to rip. or it's going to like be, or when you like move it back out, it's going to be like wrinkled beyond repair. This is not something that I'm willing to do with my hot toy, especially when I'm paying $428 before shipping taxes. And let's just segue this right into looking at this figure from an investment perspective. It's expensive, right? It's a massive figure. It's not die cast, but it is still very expensive because of how big the figure is. And I think they're also trying to get away with, selling a very important character a lot of people want in their collection. But this figure is expensive, and I think it has a pretty sizable downside risk, believe it or not. I hear you that it's like a very important character to have in like most people's collections. Like tons of people are picking up this figure, obviously. People that already have the other Thanoses are probably picking up this Thanos. People that don't have a Thanos and love the MCU are certainly picking up this Thanos. Like, it's the one Thanos that you need. It's definitely, like, I think the best Thanos that you can get, right? But it has downside risk. It's expensive. It's part of, it's a Marvel figure, and Marvel figures, as I've mentioned, do have, more downside than Star Wars figures do. We've seen what the Infinity War Thanos has done. The Infinity War Thanos got crushed in the secondary market. Now, to be fair, that's mainly because if people are going to have one representation of Thanos, which I think a lot of people are in that boat, like, a lot of people are in that boat where, like, they don't need multiple versions of the same character. Like, there's definitely a lot of collectors out there who have, like, tons of Iron Mans, tons of Captain Americas, like, all that stuff. But, like, like, Captain America is a good example of a figure, like, you don't really need multiple Captain Americas. Like, you can make the argument that you need multiple Iron Mans, sure, but, you don't really need multiple Captain Americas. And, like, it's the same thing with, like, Thanos. So that's why the Infinity War Thanos has done so poorly in the secondary market, is because people are probably just selling that to buy the Endgame one, because that's the one that they really need. And plus, the Infinity War Thanos is cool, but, like, his outfit is, like, relatively basic, and, like, everything comes with is, like, kind of, like, meh. So if there's, like, one Thanos to have, it's this one. But we've already seen how poorly that Thanos has done. So while I don't think this one has as much downside as the Infinity War Thanos has, I still think it has downside. The lack of the bent arm is definitely not trivial. It's a Marvel figure. We don't know how much popularity, until, like, we're not gonna know when Marvel, like, really is in the firm spotlight again until we get, like, another, like, really good new movie for Marvel. We know he's not going to be in the next phase of whatever Marvel is going to do. So it's not someone that's going to get, like, some type of, like, resurgence where all of a sudden a bunch of people are, like, super interested in, like, picking up a Thanos again. Like, this was kind of the end chapter for Thanos, and they're ending it with a very expensive figure that I think has some flaws. So, like, I don't think you're, like, 430, now we're, call it, like, 470 all in, you're paying for this figure. Maybe a little bit higher, depending on how, how much they're going to try and crush us on shipping. I just don't totally see it from an investment perspective. I don't see this figure being, like, a, $600 or $650 figure. It's not an Iron Man. Like, Iron Man has a different... I think the Endgame Iron Man Battle Damage also has, like, some concerns, but this, like, even more. Like, Iron Man's, like, have a general audience, and fan base that is much different than other figures in Marvel, and that's why Iron Man figures generally tend to do pretty well. This one I'm just not so sure about from an investment perspective, and that's why I'm still on the fence about this one. And I'm, luckily we still have a while, right, till this figure is going to come out, so I think it's fine to continue on the fence for a bit, if you're in the same boat as I am. But for me, it's either going to be, I'm either going to drop 1,000 and I'm going to pick up Thanos, Battle Damage Thanos and Battle Damage Endgame Iron Man, or I'm going to pick up neither. And I still don't know entirely where I am on that spectrum. Captain America was a no-brainer for me, which I talked about in one of my other videos, because, like, Captain America, you can display him, like, with Iron Man, or you could, like, display him with, like, Spider-Man, or, like, you could display him with, like, Thor, or, you don't have to display him with Thanos, but, like, Thanos, I feel like you need, if you're gonna pick up Endgame Battle Damage Thanos, you need Endgame Battle Damage Iron Man. And because I'm not totally sold on Iron Man, maybe that's another reason why I'm not totally sold on Thanos, but that's just kind of my thought process on it. I think from an investment perspective, it has some concerns, and from a collection perspective, I'm not totally sold on it either. And the main 2 points being, it doesn't come with a bent arm, and it's too big to fit in a detolf. But yeah, those are only my opinions. Please let me know in the comment section if I, got it all wrong and this figure is like a must buy for you. Maybe I'm alone in this boat, but I'm just not totally sold. And like what I think you have when if you buy one, you have to buy the pair, and like dropping $1,000 on this pair of these two figures is like a tall order for something like I think you might get burned on in the secondary market. Like there's definitely potential to get burned on, but as always, those are just my opinions. Let me know in the comment section. This is 6 Scale Economist. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you in the next video.